Hey there, and welcome to Shirley Talk. And I'm Kelsey Starks. We're kind of turning the tables here.
Yeah.
Because Mike Mulrooney is usually the one asking the questions, right?
Yeah, I host these, so it's kind of fun to have it reversed a little bit.
Exactly. So we're talking with the founder of Shirley's Way, and we just wanted to kind of put him on the spot so you can learn a little bit more about this organization, what it's all about, even how it started. So I'll start with, who is Shirley?
Yeah, Shirley was my mom, and she had a heart of gold and lived for her kids and grandkids. And unfortunately, she passed before she had the ability to spend a lot of time with her grandkids. And it was crazy. Good old Facebook, it's good for a lot of things, but sometimes it pulls at the heartstrings. A picture popped up with her and my son when he was like 2 in her arms right before she died. So, but that, again, she had a heart of gold and just absolutely lived for her kids and grandkids.
So let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
How did all of this start?
Right. Well, she was diagnosed with liver cancer, and I didn't really record the date because I never thought she would pass. It's one of those things that you think, okay, fine, we'll get through this. So I didn't really document anything. So I think it was around mid-2012 that she was diagnosed with liver cancer, and I think we were all in denial because I thought liver cancer was something that was pretty curable, but it wasn't. And the doctor said the type that she had, even if they were to surgically remove the cancer, it would come back. So she fought it as long as she could. And right before she passed, so a couple of weeks before she passed, everybody visits and tries to spend a little time with them. So we had a lot of family and friends come by. And it was absolutely horrible, the stories they told of people who had cancer that couldn't afford everyday necessities. And I'm not talking about extravagances. I'm talking about food, hygiene care, utility bills, and things like that. And, you know, I'm not rich by no means, but I've always been comfortable. And that was something that just really hit me, that I had no idea that was a problem in this world. And I don't know about you, but I've never seen the financial side of cancer until my mom had it. And to hear those stories just really broke my heart for people. And like I said, I didn't know it existed. So anyway, after she passed, I kissed her on the forehead as they wheeled her body out, and I promised her we would try to do something a little different. And I didn't know what that was going to be.
Yeah.
Not at the time.
Yeah. No. And after that, how long until you kind of had this idea to help those people with those stories you heard?
Right after she passed, I was signed up to do the Triple Crown in Louisville. The first leg was a 5K, and I went, and 2 people I hadn't seen in years showed up with cancer sucks shirts on. They had them made and was standing at the start line. And we had a moment, and it really got me thinking. You know, if you've been a runner, you probably are. But
just started a couple years ago, actually.
Well, when you run, your mind is very busy. You're trying to keep your mind. A runner is a mental game, as far as I'm concerned. Anybody can run, but you have to occupy your mind. So my mind, it was the fastest 5K I've ever ran, because I thought and thought and thought about what could we do that's different, that would have an impact in the community. And I came up with it right then and there. So it was probably 2 weeks after she passed. Like, I wasn't going to go run because I hadn't trained. I wasn't really ready, but I had to do something to occupy my time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it took me usually takes me 32 minutes to run a 5K. I think I did it in about 22 minutes that day because my mind was so occupied with what it was. So I came home and tried to start a 501c. Well, I didn't know what a 501c3 was, to be honest. I started a nonprofit, and later found out you had to do a whole lot more paperwork to get the 501c3 status. But I started it 2 weeks after that, hopped online and jumped in feet first.
Yeah, you sure did. I think it's so unique too, because you're right. I think you hear so much about organizations. I mean, there are millions of cancer organizations out there, right? They raise money for research and all kinds of things to help people with cancer. This is just different because it absolutely helps people with cancer, but it helps the families of those people, because oftentimes they almost suffer more.
They do. I mean, we've got, and research is great. We've got so many fabulous organizations that raise money for research, but there's billions of dollars being raised, but yet somebody who is sick with cancer can be thrown out of their home or sit in the dark. We had a patient we interviewed the other day that she was on oxygen because she had lung cancer, and they were going to shut her utilities off. And her mom, it would have killed her. So I don't know how she worked through that. After we left her, we actually need to follow up with her and see what happened. But there's billions of dollars raised, but yet there's people every day that just can't pay their bills because they're too sick to work. And again, I had no idea that was an issue until my parents, they did okay. I don't know that they got stuck with a lot of bills. We had some insurance. It wasn't great, but it was good. But just to see the people that we see now that are just begging for help, it's just sad. It really is.
And those people, you know, I can't imagine some of the stories that you've heard, but those people come to you, and then what happens next?
Yeah, we've actually asked the hospital to send our forms. We have a couple simple forms online, shirleysway.org, and we request that the forms be sent from the hospital. That we know it's not fraudulent, it's legit. And we try to pay the bill, and we pay the bill directly, because what we found, another patient we interviewed, it's crazy. We pay the bills directly, one, to make sure that the money goes towards the debt, towards the utility bill, towards the rent, towards the mortgage. But two, we interviewed a patient last week that she had $700 a month in Social Security. Her rent was $600 a month. Well, her church raised $200 to help her. Disability, Social Security, whatever they are, they reduced her monthly $700 by $200 because the church gave her something.
Oh, gosh.
But she was doing the right thing, reporting the money.
Right.
And they reduced her amount of money that she gets monthly. So, but that's one of the other reasons that we pay the bill directly, because if we write a check to somebody, it hits their checking account, and one of those functions, Social Security, disability, I don't even know the difference between them all. If they find out they had extra funds, they'll reduce their amount of money.
Gosh,
so you're not even helping them, really.
Right.
Yeah.
One of those loopholes that you probably never imagined was a thing. You know, and also the people who donate to you know absolutely where their money is going to. So that's great too. The amount of, well, first of all, if anybody's ever been to a race, especially in this town, they have seen your T-shirts, cancer socks.
Yeah, I'm sure they probably have.
On bumper stickers. It is all over the place. And, you know, if you don't know where that is from, it's here.
Yeah.
That's the motto.
Yeah. We, after the run, I thought, you know, it'd be kind of cool to print these shirts up, and we put them on bright orange so people could see them from a distance.
You can't miss them.
Yeah. So people see them from a distance, and we put it on the front and the back of the shirts. And, we've had some good and bad reactions. We actually had a person knock on one of my friend's shoulder. She was running and had her headphones on, and he said, "I can't believe you would wear those kind of words on your shirt." And she said, "Well, sir, the disease is worse than the words." And she kept on running. But that's true.
It's true.
We actually had some schools that used to not let kids wear these shirts, but now it's kind of okay in some schools now that they understand why and what the money is going for, and they've kind of approved that it's okay to wear the shirts now, so it's kind of funny.
It absolutely says the message loud and clear.
It does.
But the way that you all are able to raise money has changed dramatically.
Oh, yeah.
You all now are a gaming organization.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, we took some games that you would see, and I pick on the Catholics because I'm Catholic. You know, they like to gamble, and they game, and you know, I used to be at different events, and you would see them selling tickets and say, "Hey, you want to get some tickets to go in half, or you want to split the pot tickets, or you want to." I don't know, they pull tabs. You know, charities and Catholic charities have used it for years, and I thought, you know, I wonder if there's any value in taking those games and putting them online. So the first thing we did was we got our gaming license from the state of Kentucky, so we're official there, but we built a split the pot website called Go Halfers. So we were doing monthly Go Halfers drawings, GoHaffers.com, and we were doing monthly drawings for people. Now we're doing them and partnering with other small local charities to help them raise money now, because most people can't have their events.
Right.
So we have the ability to do that stuff online. And then we started a game a while back called Queen of Hearts, and that went crazy for a little while, but we built that online. So we've really got a strong online gaming presence. It's been a lot of fun.
It's unbelievable what you all have been able to accomplish. If you were to look back on yourself, maybe right after your mom died, and somebody were to tell you, look at all these things that are going to happen. What do you think would be most surprising to you?
One of the hardest things in the world is to get people to believe in your cause. Or if you're going to hold an event, will people show up? And it scares me to death. But yeah, I don't know. Right before she died, I was, I still work full time at a major distillery here in Louisville. I love the company, by the way. I work in IT. Charity has never been something that I've never really thought about. I donate and things like that, but it's never, I never would have dreamed in a million years we'd be sitting here and I'd be the founder of a 501c3. I didn't even know what a 501c3 was.
Right.
Had no clue. When I got my nonprofit on KentuckyOne.org or .gov or whatever that website is, I contacted the company I work for and said, hey, I've done this. This is what we want to do. Can you help us out? And she says, are you a 501c3? I said, I don't know what that is. Didn't have a clue. Had no clue what it was. I had to have her write it down because it's a tax code number or something. I don't know, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And, raising money is very difficult. So, yeah, before Mom died, it wasn't even on the radar for me to do something like this.
Yeah, I think it's unbelievable and very admirable. So if your mom were to be around to see what you've done in this amount of time, what do you think she'd say?
She was a very quiet, humble person. She liked to be around people, but she was the type that would sit over in the corner and just sit there and enjoy the atmosphere. She wasn't one to be in the spotlight. And actually, believe it or not, I'd say this all the time, this is out of my comfort zone. This is not something that I'm comfortable doing, at speaking and things like that. But I think she would be a little embarrassed, really, to see that her name is on the front of a lot of things around here and her name is on the back of cars. I think she was my biggest cheerleader when I played sports and stuff like that. And she would be cheering me on, but she probably would have asked me to change the name just because she wouldn't, I don't know. She was a very humble, quiet, believed in God, Catholic lady that would have been very happy for the success, but would have been probably a little embarrassed again to have her name on everything. I've even talked about opening Shirley Steakhouse, let's turn this hotel into a Shirley world. So, but who knows? But yeah, I think she would have been very happy, but kind of humbled and embarrassed a little bit.
Her legacy certainly lives on in helping so many people. Do you have any idea how much you've been able to raise over this time?
I don't know about raise, but we've given away $1 million since we started.
Wow.
We hit $1 million last year in the meat of COVID. We were actually planning a big $1 million gift party, but we've given away $1 million to people in our local community in the form of rent, mortgage, food, prescriptions, things like that. Utility bills, that's the biggest one. I thought prescription drugs when we started was going to be our biggest expense, and it's not. It's utility bills.
Unbelievable.
It is. It really is. And they're for-profit companies, utilities company. I totally get it, and I'm not ever picking on organizations because they have to make money too. But to have people who are so deathly and in some cases terminally ill that can't afford the utility bills and have that turned off. We've had so many people that would be sitting in the dark that just couldn't afford their bills.
Well, even just to have that worry.
Yeah.
On top of everything else, just to be worried about where the money's going to come from to pay your next bill.
Yeah, we talk to patients all the time. If you go to our Shirley Talk channel after this interview and you can see some of our patient interviews, Kelly's interviewed several patients that, one lady, her husband, and this happens a lot. Typically when the person gets sick, they probably, in some cases, lose their job if they're working, and in many instances, their spouse loses their job because they're spending so much time as caregiver, to the person, and they end up losing their job. So you not only have the worry and the pain of the cancer and what's it going to do to me? Is this going to take my life? But stress adds a lot more to medical conditions than people realize. So if you got the stress of trying to figure out how you're going to make your mortgage payment, or how you're going to keep the utilities on, that really magnifies the disease.
Yeah.
And but we've had several people, and I that said, look, I'm not doing that to my family. I'm just going to check out. And they decide to not forego any treatments, because they don't want to put their family in financial ruin. And it's sad. We're actually started a podcast, and the next one coming up is going to be the financial ruin of cancer. And because it does, it's completely ruins people. And should people in the richest country in the world be in a situation where they lose everything they have because they're sick? And that's where we're at.
Yeah,
it's sad.
It is. And when you hear those stories, when people come in and tell you what these donations have meant to them and their family, how do you feel?
Sometimes we have, I'm 6'3", 250. Actually, I've lost some weight, so, but, I'm tenderhearted, and there's been several times where Kelly and them, we got two Marys that work here, and they'll get a letter, and we read them on our drawing days of what we did for them, how $200 impacted their life, and we'll stand here and cry.
Yeah.
It's absolutely horrible to think that people are in such a situation, in such a dire need when they're sick, but it's very emotional. Before we were able to bring a couple people on to help, I was really struggling mentally. Another episode we're going to do is the PTSD of cancer, because when you hear these stories, they wear on you. I mean, over and over and over, and they're legit. They're hardworking people that get a disease that they didn't ask for. Somebody could argue, they smoked their entire life, but that doesn't mean they deserve to die, and to see somebody in such dire straits that they can't afford a $200 utility bill, it's just heartbreaking. It really is. But yeah, we stand around sometimes and tear up, all of us, just reading and hearing these things.
Yeah. Well, they are fortunate to have an organization like this here in our community. So if people do want to get involved, how do they get involved? And what's your next goal coming up? Yeah,
our goal for 2021 is to get 1,000 people to set up a $10 monthly donation. We talk about, and I love coffee, so I'm not picking on fancy coffee, but we say all the time, 1 cup of fancy coffee can cost $7, $8, $10.
That's what I was going to say,
they're expensive, and they're good.
Yeah.
But, you can forego 1 cup of fancy coffee a month.
A month.
1 cup. It used to be $1 a day or something. Now it's $10.
Yeah.
But it's $10 is very easy for most people to do. But our goal in 2021 is to get 1,000 people to sign up as a $10 monthly donor, and we could really make some changes with that kind of money.
Absolutely.
Or go out to our gaming sites. We got 4 gaming sites actually, and buy some $2 tickets, and they're cheap tickets, and you could win some money, and it's a lot of fun too. We have a good time doing that.
And this has extended beyond here in Kentucky, right?
Right. Yeah, we actually have a small chapter in Tennessee. There's a guy down there that was pretty close to one of the people we worked with, and he decided to open a chapter up in Tennessee, and down in Tennessee, however you want to look at that. Yeah. So, but he works a lot with Vanderbilt University and some of the nurses down there, and some of their people that are fighting cancer. And he's given away, I don't know, $20-something thousand since he started, and he really has a good time doing that as well. It's a lot of fun. And
what is your overall goal with Shirley's Way? What is your dream of Shirley's Way?
Yeah, I think, I don't know. When I jumped into this, I had a goal in mind of to help people who are struggling financially with cancer. But I think if I ever could get to the point, and I know a few local politicians, and I don't even know how politics works. I hate politics. It's
we didn't know what a 501c3 is either.
No, I didn't. Yeah, so I think we could hit this, but I would like to be able to get on, I don't know, is it Capitol Hill in Kentucky, and explain to these people the situations that folks are running into. And I'm not saying people should bail out of their bills, but if you've got a terminal diagnosis or you're so sick you can't work with something like cancer, what do we do? We can't keep throwing people out of their homes who are sick. A few years ago, when I used to watch the news when you and Andy were on, but a few years ago when I used to watch the news, I'm trying to remember how long ago it was, but there was a homeless person that had cancer, and he was living under a bridge. Is that the world we want to live in? I mean, these politicians need to really think this through. And I'm not saying people shouldn't pay their bills, but if you're sick, so sick you can't work, you lose your job, can the bank start take 4 months of your mortgage payment and put it on the end, and and add the interest if you want, but get off their backs. Stop calling people when they're sick and threatening to throw them out of their homes. Stuff like that I think we could do. Or take your utility bill and divide it up over 4 months and add that to your bill. Something. It's got to be something. Yeah, it's got to be something, because there's no value in throwing somebody who is sick out of their home or turning their utilities off. But I think this country in general gets so jaded because people try to take advantage of the system. So how do you know who's real and who's not? So maybe do what we do. If it doesn't come from the hospital, we don't pay the bill. So if the hospital contacts you and says this person is terminal or this person can't work for 6 months, work with them. But I really, at this point, I see that is where we might be headed somehow, some way, to get in front of these local politicians and get them to understand what it is. Because, if you're of means, which a lot of politicians are, they don't know what people deal with. I think sometimes they get out of touch with reality and don't understand the true struggles that people are dealing with. So, most people are 1 to 2 paychecks away from disaster. And when you add a diagnosis of cancer or something like that onto that, it makes it even worse.
It is.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we do have an organization like yours here, and you are able to help. And tell us again how people can get involved.
Yeah, shirleysway.org. Go set up the $10 monthly donation. Forego that 1 cup of fancy coffee for us for 1 month.
Amazing.
Yeah, once a month. And, go out there gaming sites. We've got queenofheartslive.org, wheelofcashlive.org, and jokerswildlive.org. And they're a lot of fun. We give away a lot of money, and it's $2 tickets. So it's easy to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, shirleysway.org, and please set up your $10 monthly donation. Would be huge.
Yeah, and $1 million. That is just mind-blowing. $1 million going right back into this community to those people who need it the most. Yeah. That is quite an accomplishment.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations.
We never set any goal. It just happened. It's kind of funny when you look up one day and start adding the numbers and think, wow, we're at $1 million. Didn't even think about it.
Well, that's just awesome. And I just can't wait to see where you go from here.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Still much more to see from you all. I have an idea. Well, thanks for checking out Shirley Talk again here. And your regular host, Mike, will be back next time.
Adios. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Kelsey.